Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our fifth episode of Thriving Thursdays, Multilingualism Matters. If you're new here, I want you to know that this is a project designed by SIETAR Austria, the Society for Intercultural Education, Training and Research. My name is Karin Martin, and I'm the host of this Expert Talk series. If you want to find out more about SIETAR Austria and our projects, please visit our website, www.sietar.at. And also, please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or suggestions for our future talks. We agree that I'm going to record this conversation and will make it available later for those who are not here. So now we can start, and this is a very special talk for me today because one of the goals of SIETAR Austria is to foster the connections with our neighboring countries. And today I'm really honored to have Professor Marko Stabej here with me to talk about Slovenia. So dear Marko, thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Prosim, dober večer.
Hvala. So you are a professor of Slovene language and former head of the Center for Slovene as Second and Foreign Language at the University of Ljubljana, among many other things. So dear Marko, I would like to start with your linguistic biography. What languages do you speak? What does your passion for languages come from? And most importantly, how is this connected to your professional career?
Thank you. Well, my biography is quite simple, actually. If you take into consideration that my mother was a teacher of Slovene on grammar school and on gymnasium, and my father is, among other things, also a translator. So I grew up with observing and commenting language and languages. I have also a puristic experience, especially father. He corrected me in my eyes, most inappropriate moments of my childhood. So this was, I think, kind of foundation for my linguistic thinking, so to say. But when I inscribed into the Slovene studies at the University in Ljubljana, on the Department of Slovene Studies, I thought this would be only temporarily. I wanted to study music, but I didn't feel prepared in that time. Then I got the professor, my professor Breda Pogorelec, quite famous person, at least in Slovene linguistic science, Slovene linguistics, and she had ways to attract people into the linguistic thinking and reasoning. So ever since I stayed where I am. This determined my path, so to say. But biography. The more I speak my own mother tongue and my only first language is Slovene, the less I think I know how to speak. So it's hard to say, but I'm a bit familiar with German, with English, of course, with French, and I would stop here. I will stop here. I understand also to some extent some other languages, especially Slavic languages. Of course, I have experience with plurilingual Yugoslavia, of course, and Serbo-Croatian, the extinct language, so to say.
So you also speak a bit of Italian, right?
I do.
I know.
And I learned my Italian with help of settimana animistica, because my father is also, how will I say, well, the puzzle maker.
Yeah.
passionate, and he was. We had this publication for years, every Thursday, I think, and I began with with reading captions of the written what the comics, so to say,
Yes.
and then slowly. And of course, I had Latin in grammar school. And it was not a good experience, but somehow it remained somewhere back.
Somewhere in the back of the mind.
Yeah.
Right. So you are head of the Department of Slovene Studies, and I know you're working and teaching fields of Slovene linguistics, contemporary and historical social linguistics, text linguistics, stylistics, and corpus linguistics.
Yeah.
So would you please describe the social linguistic situation or context of Slovene language? So we really want to know which languages are spoken there, including minority language, migrants language. So a kind of an overview, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm not head of the department anymore, but
You were, sorry.
Time flies. Well, officially in Slovenia, Slovene language is an official language, is the official language. And there are two other official languages which are regional official languages, the Italian and Hungarian, in communities where Italian and respectively the Italian and Hungarian communities live. There is some place for Romani language also, which is mentioned in the constitution and has as the Romani community has also special rights. But then, of course, the reality is more versatile, so to say, or diverse. There are plenty of languages. There are quite substantial communities of speakers of former Yugoslav republics, Croatian, Serbian, Bosnian, Albanian also community, which are not official national communities and their language has no status in present situation, but there are some processes in the direction that they should also be acknowledged as a part of Slovene linguistic situation, so to say. And then, of course, we are the land of immigration. So the numbers of foreign speakers of Slovene, so to say, is rising from various countries, of course, but it's normal. It's not that different from Austria, I think, or any other country in Europe. So basically, that's it. And of course, the Slovene-speaking community is not limited to Republic of Slovenia, but is quite vital in neighboring countries and also all over the world. Maybe with exception of Africa, on every other continent there is at least one Slovenian community which is kind of active
Yes.
and alive.
Yeah, I would like to go a little bit deeper because, at SIETAR Austria, we see multilingualism as an asset. And one of our goals is to promote a positive attitude around this topic. And I know that you're also a former member of Slovene Parliamentarian Working Group for language policy, language planning. So I'm really interested in knowing a little bit more about Slovenia's position and attitudes towards multilingualism. You've just said you have so many languages spoken there. So yeah, what is the main attitude towards multilingualism in Slovenia? What would you say?
Well, the traditional official attitude, I would say, well, it's a simplification, of course, but we see the knowledge of more than one language as, of course, as an asset or as something that is not only useful but it is needed for normal life. That has been going on for a long time. But in terms of public use of other languages, there is great skepticism, especially among more conservative political and also scientific part, because the Slovene public monolinguality, so to say, was something that was ideal for at least a century, from the end of the 18th century and throughout the 19th century. And when it was to a certain extent achieved, it is still seen as something that shouldn't be, I don't know, endangered. And so there are mixed feelings toward the presence of different languages in everyday's life. And especially, of course, every single time in every country that we lived in Austria, of course, the German language was kind of dominant. And so it was an adversary, so to say. It was it had to be fought against, so to say. And in Yugoslavia, it was Serbo-Croatian, and now it's of course English. Although English language is omnipresent, so to say, in everyday's life, and the other languages, they are, to some extent, they are losing their ground. Of course, not German, because German is tend to be seen as something very useful and not dangerous from this ideological point of view. Mm-hmm. But English, yes. So I would say it's an oversimplification, but the older generation and the conservative part of the public is very critical towards basically any English language in public discourse. And of course, also with not official minority languages, there is also how would I put it? They're a bit reserved, especially politics is quite reserved in giving them more rights than, or any right at all, any special linguistic rights. Although it's feasible, it would be, in my view, in view of many of my colleagues, it would be the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we titled this talk Multilingual Monolingualism, yeah. Right? So this kind of, yes, it's not a conflict, but, you know, as you were saying, yes, some are against.
Conflict as well, because, because, you know, the majority of language planning is still in that direction, is meant to reassure that Slovene language will stay the only public language, at least in the Republic of Slovenia. Mm-hmm. And I think this is not okay. We all want to have Slovene, the public Slovene, without any doubt. But there are situations that in which the use not only of English but also of other languages is needed, is good, is functional, and so on. And there is other thing that is also problematic, that let's say in academic circles, when discussing about how to ensure the international dimension of higher education in Slovenia, to some academics, only English is acceptable of any other languages. And especially we in humanities and in social sciences, we are pushing a little bit that also other languages can be present also. Why not? And especially, of course, this South Slavic language continuum is very near. It's in neighborhood. So okay, the younger people they didn't have any contact, or they have much less contact than we had. But nevertheless, it could be an asset, but it is not seen as an asset mainly. In some circles, yes, but on this public level or on general level, no. We are cautious, so to say, overcautious.
I understand.
In my view.
I understand. And Marko, I know some years ago you worked as a representative of University of Ljubljana in the Dlearn research project. This was a European project. So can you briefly mention the Dlearn project? What was the main goal and what were the main results? Is Slovene well represented at the level of European institutions? What can you tell us about it?
Thank you. Well, it has been 10 years since the end of the project, and if you allow me, I will cite the most general description.
Yes.
The Dlearn project sought to identify the conditions under which Europe's linguistic diversity can be an asset for the development of knowledge and economy. And of course, we sought to identify an asset, and we found it. It was quite an experience. It was a huge project, at least in my eyes, led by Swiss team, which is, as we all know, not part of EU. It was quite fun because it was interdisciplinary from the law scholars and specialists in economy, linguistic economy, to very traditional linguists. We were all together discussing these dimensions of multilingual practices, above all in the institutions. And yeah, I mean, we were a Slovenian team. We were 2 or at most 3 members. Slovene was kind of example of less bigger, let's say it's small nation, small national language in EU. And well, we found out that on a level of institutions, Slovenian language is well represented. But of course, the equality of language equality is, well, some are less equal than others. That, I mean, it's very obvious. But we saw that on many levels, and if you look at it with positive thinking, it is an asset. But it is also a problem, which and there were some suggestions how to play language planning in the direction of inclusion, equality, and blossom of knowledge and economy and everything. I didn't answer you precisely because I don't know how to answer. But the publication, I visited the Dlearn page today, and I saw that the publications from the project are still being published. In November last year, the last book was published. So a huge amount of data was gathered, and then is still used by the most, what would I say, most diligent members of former team.
So we rather go and check and see what have been published. Marko, I will try now to pronounce a Slovenian word. I'll do my best because I really want to know the meaning behind the word Zamaiti, probably. Can you please explain to us?
Your second attempt was perfect. Yes, Zamaiti is a word that is supposed to mean or to encompass all Slovenes that live behind the border. So za is behind and meja is border. So Zamaiti is man who lives on the other side of the border. Well, as a term, it is quite frequently used in Slovenia when we are talking about Slovenes in Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Croatia. But the majority of Slovenes there are not happy with it. And
okay, why?
You know why? Because do you want to be somebody who is behind the border? I mean, it kind of emphasizes the border. And
so it's in a negative nuance.
Well, not unintentionally, not. But in eyes of many, it is kind of understatement or not an insult, but inappropriate. So if I'm Slovene in Trieste, why should I be behind the border? Which border? State border? Because the state border is not an ethnic border. We know all. We all have this experience, and that's the story behind it. Although, as I said, it's not intentionally insultive manner of but of course, there is hardly any other term that would cover all three communities. So you have, instead of Zamaiti, you have to invent something else. But if you're talking every time that you want to mention those communities, said Slovene in Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Croatia, it's of course long as Zamaiti. I mean, from practical point of view. But of course, these borders are problematic and were problematic, and they still are, in spite of Schengen and European Union. But it's getting much better than it used to be after the First World War, after the Second World War. So there is an improvement, and I think that this word Zamaiti is also slowly fading and passing away.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd like to remind the audience that if you want, you can ask questions and just write in the chat. And yes, and I would like to move on with another question about language rights. What's your opinion about language rights? For example, what do you think are ideal language rights for Slovenia outside the country? And maybe in the context of multilingualism, I don't know how much is the government doing for promoting Slovene outside the country, outside Slovenia. Can you tell us anything about it?
Well, I can. The promotion of Slovene language community outside in the neighboring countries, so to say, not to say Zamaiti, is something I think, if not completely, but quite different from overall general promotion of Slovene in the world. And if I start with this second issue, you mentioned that I was head of a Center for Slovene as a second foreign language on University of Ljubljana. We are managing in this center, we are managing in the name of state, so to say, or Slovene community, we're managing over 50 lectors of Slovene on the universities throughout the world, except of Africa, already mentioned. So there is a kind of network, of course, cannot be compared with, I don't know, Goethe Institute or Institut Français. No, but there is quite an effort. The government, we have had problems with financing, but now the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 governments didn't make us any problems. So it's okay. But in concerning this autochthonous Slovene community in neighboring countries, of course, the answer is quite clear. They need all linguistic rights to have their minority language Slovene as a public official language. And in legal terms, this is guaranteed. But in real practice, there are many problems. Some of them were solved in last decades, less so to say, but still many things remain open. Of course, the communities themselves are changing in terms of linguistic competence, in terms of language and other ideologies, identities. Everything is much more mixed, is not a good expression because it can be understood well, not properly, but well, more complex, so to say. There is still plenty of room of improving in practice of linguistic rights, not only in legal documents, but also in the real in real life.
Yes, you know, I'm just checking the time because it's always half an hour that we plan for this talk, and I really want to ask you one more thing about the definition. What makes you bilingual? What makes you multilingual? Your personal definition. So when are you considered a bilingual or multilingual person? What's your personal definition?
I don't have a personal definition. But I would say, I mean, I'm against the old definitions that bilingual or multilingual person is a person who masters 2 or 3 languages at the, you know, top gun level. No, I'm against it. But then again, I'm not that passionate about the other pole, that if you know 3 words of, I don't know, if you love 3 words of, I don't know, Mongolian, then you're bilingual. Of course you're not. But also it comes along with, you know, being prepared of dealing with linguistic practice in a language which is not mastered, which is not fluently mastered. And we are improving this kind of attitudes that we all that we know how to be more patient to a weaker speaker of a language, I would say. But it goes very slowly, because there are old ideologies that who master the language is also master of, you know, of social interactions and so on. So, but I think that bilinguality and multilinguality is very strongly connected also, not with tolerance, but with active being prepared for fight with how would I say?
Yeah,
to be able to understand a speaker who doesn't speak perfectly and fluently and is not a shiny speaker, and that we have a tolerance and patience to get what he wants to tell us.
Yeah, so empathy, right? The ability to to try to understand the other person, to be empathic, even if the other person is not speaking perfect way with perfect accent, so to say. And Marko, I know time is flying, but we have a question from Elisa. Thank you, Elisa. She writes, as an Italian teacher in Romania, I would like to know how much the Slavic language has influenced the Romanian language. Thank you. Can you, that would be another talk probably, but maybe can you briefly mention?
But not by me. Well, as I know, of course, there are regional influences, interlinguistical regional impact, so to say. So, of course, Romanian language has contact with various Slavic languages, and it can be seen in Romanian as far as I know, but it's not really a question for me. The same goes with Hungarian, let's say. The Hungarian language has many Slavic, or has a lot of lexica that comes from Slavic languages, from, I don't know, Mačka, cat, to, I don't know, many of them.
Sure.
So, yes, historically quite sure, but in active context, I don't know.
And we are basically at the end. I'm really sorry, but Marko, can you tell us, please, where we can find more? Oh, sorry, I see somebody. Oh, maybe let's pick this question. That's interesting for me as well. Is there a linguistic certificate for Slovene language? This I don't know. Thank you for the question.
Well, if you mean by that linguistic certificate that you have a certificate of knowledge of Slovene,
yeah, for the competence,
there is a system of exams and of certificates. Yes, official system. Our Center for Slovenian Second and Foreign Language has also this examination center, and they are part of European Language Test Association, ALTE. So, and there is information about this on the pages of the Center for Slovenian as a Second Foreign Language on our university.
Great. So let me just put the link of the university so people can go and check. Here we go. I see there's another question. We, the Fachhochschule, are partner of the center. You can do it at the Fachhochschule. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you. Great.
Sure.
Good to know.
About the same exams.
Oh, yes, sure. Oh my God, I forgot. Yeah, of course. Of course. And somebody's saying a splita for Italian. Yes, that's exactly what we meant. Marko, time is up. I just wanted to also tell you, also a singer, a songwriter, and keyboardist. So I guess you're singing in Slovenian, right? In the band Melancholy.
I make my own songs or our own songs in Slovenian.
Where can we listen to your music?
No,
YouTube? Can we find you on YouTube?
You can find something, Melancholiki. I will write into a chat if
yes, I think I can do a copy and paste here as well. So that would be very interesting to listen to.
If you write it on YouTube, you will find some
great
things. Yes.
Yes, here we go. Wonderful. And I'll put the other link as well.
Well, on our concerts, we play, I think we have a repertoire in 8 or 9 different languages. Of course, in English, but we have also, I don't know, German, Meki Messa, and we have Italian, some oldies but goldies from Adriano Celentano and so on. So, yeah.
And also French, is someone asking?
At the moment, only Les Champs-Élysées, which is originally English song, but yeah, Champs-Élysées, quite famous. Yeah, Georges Martin.
All right, so time is up. thank you very much, Marko, for joining us. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you, everyone.
Hope it wasn't boring, and it was that.
Of course not. We're happy to connect and network with our neighbor countries, neighbor colleagues. So thank you very much. And everybody, if you want to join another expert talk, this will be in 2 weeks. And we're going to talk about CSI linguists, so something about forensic linguistic. Let's see. Everybody's writing hvala lepa. Thank you. Hvala lepa. Hvala vam. Thank you all. So I would say grazie a tutti e arrivederci. Ciao, ciao.